My friends, one round of applause for our next speaker, Dr. Dan!
Good morning, Nomad Fest, and welcome to the future. Over the next 25 minutes, I hope to inspire you. I might scare you a bit, but I most certainly aim to convince you that we are living in the most extraordinary time in human history, and that at this point in time, building the AI startup is the greatest, most exceptional opportunity in our lifetimes to go from employee to billionaire. So to those of you who know me, you know that I started this public speaking career 1 year ago, not on this stage, on the smaller one here at Nomad Fest. So this is my 1 year anniversary, speakerversary. Thank you all for being here to celebrate it with me. So to those who don't know me, who am I? Hi, I'm Dr. Dan. I have a PhD in AI. I'm ex-Google, ex-Alexa, founder of many startups. On the right-hand side, you can see my academic credentials, if you're interested in that. But more interesting credentials, I think, are selfies. So on the left-hand side, that's Geoffrey Hinton, the grandfather or godfather of AI, the winner of the Nobel Prize last year for his contributions to artificial neural networks, which is the main type of machine learning that we use to build the models that we use for all the AI that you use nowadays. And the guy on the right-hand side is Jensen Huang, the founder and CEO of the most valuable company on earth, NVIDIA, because they manufacture the chips on which the AI runs. For example, ChatGPT, or as I call it, GP. Now, GP is many things to many people. GP is your lawyer, your doctor, your friend, your girlfriend in some situations. But GP is one more thing for me. It is the canary in the gold mine. It is the thing that tells us that we have passed the inflection on the exponential curve of progress. And we have many examples of that, and I will show you a few. But I want to make this claim here, and this is that we have reached AGI. The internet is all Ghibli images. We have succeeded in this. But beyond the joke, here is what it looks like to generate video today. You put a prompt at the bottom, you literally write something that you want to see, and that video comes out, fully generated. No cameras, no actors, no makeup, no studio, no production, no motion capture, no nothing. You just say what you want to see, and that is the resulting quality. Last year, there were some video generation projects that I was showing the results of, but they were all experimental, not very good. Now you can just go and use it. That's high-low 2. You can use VO3 as well. And that means, of course, we have fully AI-generated channels you can find. This is the famous ASMR Yeti. How many of you have heard of it? Okay, like a third. So it's actually really cool. These videos are really fascinating to watch. And it's already had like 30 million views in like a week since it launched or something crazy like that. So a lot of the content you see on the internet is already AI generated. And my favorite thing that happened, I think it's like a week ago, these are two famous or relatively well-known influencers in China, but those are not them. Those are their AI avatars who ran a 7-hour kind of marathon, or sales-a-thon. I don't know what this is, to be honest, but people apparently watch this stuff and buy things that they recommend, you know? But basically, these are already automated influencers. They sold $7 million worth of stuff, completely automated, interacting with the audience, like whoever writes to them, they respond and all of that. So that's already happened. But not only that, as always, the robots are coming. A guy in the center is Jensen from slide number 3, who always loves to see humanoids around him. I wish I had a few to show you on stage, maybe next year. Now, there's been a lot of progress since last year, particularly in dancing. If you look at the top left, we can probably match humans at dancing in some specialties. Definitely backflips, I can't do one of those. Definitely like turning around like an odd exorcist thing. But the most interesting robot that came out in the last year for me is this one, which answers the question in my mind, what do you get if you crossbreed a dog and a motorbike? I guess that's the future of urban transportation. I, for one, cannot wait to ride one of those. So if you want one, you can buy it. It's $100K, and very soon on Amazon, I'm sure. Now, I used to work at Amazon. When I was at the company, there was this worry that they were running out of people. And that's because they treated the people like dirt. You know, if you have to pee in a water bottle, pee in your nappies to make more deliveries, then people tend to leave and not come back. And so there was a conversation going on. What should we do? Should we improve working conditions? Maybe we should increase wages. Nah, let's just get rid of people and use robots instead. Now, the top right has been true for at least 10 years. That's a very standard Amazon fulfillment center, which is mostly run by robots. The bottom right is in progress. They are experimenting with new modalities, new types of robots to complete all the touch points in the center so no humans are needed. And this was already true last year, but what's happened in the last year is that now, a week ago, or 10 days ago, the CEO of Amazon said, get ready to be fired. Get ready to have fewer employees at Amazon. We don't need you because now we have AI. This is an official circular internally from the CEO. And even more practical robots for us, normal people, are those who drive you around. And this is Waymo. You can see on the right-hand side, I took it recently. I was in San Francisco. Amazing experience. Slightly more expensive than Uber, but I think it's totally worth it just for the novelty. And as you can see in the graph, the usage of Waymo has been going up. Lyft is going down. So Waymo is now the second biggest ride-hailing app in San Francisco. And Uber is also on the down while Waymo is on the up. So the robocars, the robotaxis are finally here, and they work, they're scaling. So we get to the point where we all need to wonder, does this really affect me? I mean, I don't drive a truck, I'm not a checkout cashier, I don't work in a fulfillment center. The writing is on the wall, as always. Let's talk about digital nomads. What is it that we do on those laptops? Well, we squint into them because the sun is too strong and we're wearing sunglasses for the photo opportunity. Well, there's a bunch of data you can find online. This is Nomad List, I guess, probably the biggest data you can find. Yes, it's self-reported, so of course take it with a pinch of salt, and of course there'll be some bias, but about a third of men we can estimate are some sort of software engineer or developer, and about 10% of women, so coders. So let's talk about coders. I used to be one at Google. That was me asking annoying questions to the founders of Google. Right there on the stage you can see, but that's Sergey and Sundar. And I used to work right under the logo. That's a very fun thing. That was actually my building. I was in the office just under the E at the end. So I used to ask questions, and one of them was, as a software engineer, I see it as my job to automate all jobs, by which I mean human jobs. And I used to think that my job, the automator, would be the last one to go. But now I've realized that we might be better at automating ourselves than we are automating anybody else whose job we don't understand. So are we putting ourselves out of job? And their answer from stage was, don't worry, your job's safe for many, many years. Many turned out to be exactly 6, because in 2023, the layoffs started at Alphabet, Meta, Amazon, Microsoft. Everybody started firing and firing. Now, yes, I know there was a pandemic, and if you look at the graph over time, you can see there's this curve there, which was COVID. During COVID, nobody fired, only hired, right? And then there was an overcompensation at the end of that, for sure. That is definitely one of the ingredients to what's happening. But maybe there is another aspect to it, and that is that this is what coding looks like today. This is me. I went to Claude and I said, make me a playable clone of Space Invaders, the game. Off it goes, it codes it, and it's playable in your browser immediately, instantly. Now, of course, this is a really shitty game, and I say, please draw me some aliens. I mean, that was, come on, boxes? What year is this? So there he goes. It draws the aliens. This is coding. You talk to the machine, you tell it what you want, and it makes it. This is now known as vibe coding. When I recorded that, there was no name for it. And I do realize that vibe coding is not the same as software engineering. Software engineering means you're maintaining an existing product that is deployed, that has users, that has all kinds of guarantees of uptime, of security, safety, things like that. So how good are LLMs at that? Well, there are some benchmarks to evaluate that. One of them is SweBench. This came out in October 2023, and it's a collection of issues from GitHub, which is tickets, which is features or bugs, things to add to the product, things to fix in the product. When it came out, LLMs were hopeless. You couldn't do 5% of these tickets. But over time, as you see, that has been growing. Now this small graph that you see is exactly 1 year ago, as I was presenting here at Nomad Fest. And I said, I don't know if this is going to spike. I don't know if it's going to plateau. I don't know what the future looks like, but you can see there is progress. What do you guys think happened? This is what happened. Of course, there was more progress, and now we have almost saturated this benchmark. We're almost 80%. I said last year that if we hit 90% of this, half of software engineers would be kind of redundant, and this is where we are right now. Now, the big jump that you saw in that graph is thanks to OpenAI O3, which is the 175th best programmer in the world. Yes, there are competitions for programmers. I have a whole video on that if you want to find my YouTube. So in 1997, we beat Kasparov at chess, and in 2016, we beat Lee Sedol at Go. Will 2025 be the year that we beat the best programmer in the world at programming? And if we do, will there be any jobs left for programmers? Well, if you look at the differential between one year and the next, it's still true that applied researchers, machine learning engineers, are more in demand than before. But as you can see, the difference between the green bars and the red bars, all other types of coders, SREs, mobile engineers, front-end data engineers, the demand has gone down because essentially, if you are not automating, you're being automated, and everybody is betting on this already. And indeed, every company claims now that 30%, 25%, whatever, 40% of their code is being written by AI, and they make these big announcements because this pushes their stock up, of course, because if you can produce the same amount of goods with fewer people, then you're a more profitable company. Now, in January this year, Mark Zuckerberg had some interview, I can't remember the podcast, where he said they expect to automate mid-level software engineers this year. Whatever mid-level means is not clear. Well, what is clear is he announced 5% layoffs when he said that. Then Klarna, which is this big buy now, pay later company, said they would not use Salesforce anymore. Salesforce is a very large company that does this business B2B CRM thing, and it's very expensive. And they said, you know what? We don't need you. We're going to build Salesforce in-house, ourselves. We're going to vibe code Salesforce. And they said, Salesforce said, oh yeah, well, we're not going to hire any more software engineers because we have AI and we don't need them either. Is it just software engineering? Nope. You can see writing, graphic design, 3D modeling, everything else is down on all the gig platforms, Upwork and Fiverr, etc. But of course, there's all kinds of asterisks to this data. And one of them is if you look at Upwork's own study on this, you can see that high-value contracts are increasing. So even though the numbers are going down, the value of the contracts is going up. And there's a premium on complex and specialized tasks, which means essentially, instead of doing the little thing, if you manage the whole process, right? So in a meme, that means if you deliver solutions, your buff Doge and GenAI will make you richer. And if you make digital goods, your teams and AI will take your job. That's your meme to take away. A really cool article that I found that I really like talking about is this one where they look at how AI is impacting the video game industry. Now, the video game industry is like Hollywood. It's huge. It employs a lot of people to make all of these assets for games. You know, you need 3D objects and textures and sounds and voices and all kinds of things. Well, they are firing, even though the industry is pretty big and making money, they're firing at an increasing rate. And the main reason that the article found is that they automated concept art. You no longer need to have a designer or an illustrator in-house to draw you an elf. You can go to Midjourney and get that elf drawn immediately, and then you can iterate very quickly over it. Even if it's not perfect, you can then hand it to somebody else on Upwork to do it. And in this article, there is this amazing quote from the CEO of Electronic Arts, who of course announced 3% layoffs as he was saying this. And he said, in every revolution, agricultural or industrial, there has been displacement of the workforce in the near term, but then meaningful increases in work opportunities over the longer term. So basically, pain now, success later. But I always wonder if this still applies to the fifth industrial revolution, the AI revolution. So let's think about this together. This is you, sitting in a nice co-working space, comfy chair, with your mug of coffee, doing whatever it is that brings you purpose, pleasure, joy, and ideally an income, which is you take information from the screen that goes into your brain, that makes sense of it, puts it into its world model, processes it, and then makes decisions, makes choices. Those choices get coded as motor movements, and then with these appendages, which you own, you put information back into the computer. You are a knowledge worker. You work with your brain, not with your muscles. But why would anyone pay you to do that? Well, it's because you own this amazing machine that until now we couldn't manufacture anything like it, which is the human brain, right? Which can do long-term planning and goal setting and prioritizing. It can do communication with other humans. It can estimate how people react to amazing device. And with this amazing device, you might think that you are up there in the clouds with the gods and with Einstein. And then at the bottom, of the ladder, there's the birds, the ants, and AI. This is a much more realistic representation of what is going on. as AI increases exponentially. And my claim is that we are here. We are at the intersection of the smartest AI and the smartest human. And how do we know this? Well, we can test the AI with the same test that we give to humans. We can give them an IQ test. There's a distribution of our intelligence in a human population. And this is 1 year ago. 1 year ago, we were 1 standard deviation dumber AI than the average human. Today, 1 standard deviation smarter AI than the average human. This is a held out test. This is the kind of test that you take to get into Mensa, the Brainiac Association. Of course, there are different types of intelligence, and we haven't cracked all of them, but you get the point that the progress is there. We're trying to catch up with this dude, by the way. And you would think maybe that's now, but that's it, and you won't go any further, and it's not going to get any better. Well, you can see that the length of tasks that AI can do has also been increasing exponentially, and in fact so fast that we had to readjust the curve to fit it, like the exponential factor has grown recently. So these systems can take on jobs that take longer and longer and longer that a human would do that are economically productive. So this is my claim in this presentation, which is that if it's not true now, it'll be true very, very soon, that there's nothing that a human can do that a machine can't do better, faster, cheaper, and more reliably. And if this is true, then stop hiring humans. This is a real campaign, an ad in San Francisco at bus stops. There's this company selling AI sales representatives, and they go straight for the controversial thing. And my favorite photo always is this homeless person sitting next to an ad that says, "Don't hire people." And that reminds me of this cover of the New Yorker magazine in 2017 of robots giving handouts to unemployable people. And I do think the future looks a bit like this in the sense that we need to tax the robots so that we all get universal basic income or anything akin, because there's no way that you will be able to, as an employee, have something to trade for your time, etc. So that is a problem. I'm sure we all agree. But wherever there's a problem, there's an opportunity. And this is the greatest opportunity in our lifetime. Because you can create anything. Because digital goods, their cost has trended to zero. You can make movies and apps, you can make video games, write books, create communities, whatever you can think of, you can probably make it yourself very fast, with almost zero cost. So get building. There's this guru of startups, Paul Graham of Y Combinator, the largest or most famous incubator accelerator in Silicon Valley, who, that's the best selfie I could get with him, I couldn't get closer, he had this tweet where he said, if AI allows companies to be smaller, this will be great, because as the company grows, there's all kinds of inefficiencies, because humans are terrible. And somebody comments, well, imagine all the people looking for jobs. And so Paul says, just have more companies. More companies! All right then, entrepreneurship. I've been an entrepreneur for about 11 years, serial failed entrepreneur to be more specific. And I don't know, how many entrepreneurs in the room? Okay, I'd say about half and half. Awesome. So I'm sure you guys know as well as I do, and probably better, that one of the hardest things about entrepreneurship is people. Because you have to convince people all the time, convince them to join you. You have to onboard them and train them and put them in teams and manage them and keep them motivated and focused and driven. And also fire them if they're not performing. You have to convince people to give you money to start your company. You have to convince people to buy your product. People. What if you say, screw people? I'm going solo. Solopreneurs are a growing category, nowhere as big as entrepreneur, of course, but bottom right, screenshot, that's Peter Levels, who I'm sure all of us have at least heard of. This man is making $2 million a year, just naked on his sofa, just coding with his laptop. So it's already a thing, and he was doing this before vibe coding, which is, our opportunity. But I do believe that this is harder than being an entrepreneur, because you actually have to be every single person you're not hiring. You have to do sales and marketing and building and customer support and invoicing and accounting. You have to do everything in a company. I think that there's a new category of entrepreneur that is coming up, and I call this the ultrapreneur. Now, what is the ultrapreneur? It is, in Sam Altman's words, going to be possible very soon for one person to build $1 billion company with AI, just by themselves, solo founder, nobody else. What does that look like? Well, you go to GP and say, make me a startup. And GP says, well, make it yourself. Sudo, make me a startup. Okay. I hear like 3 people laughing in the audience. Cool. Luckily, 2025 is the year of agentic AI. What does that mean? It means that I've been in SF at every pitch event, and every single company pitching was an AI agent company. Now, what is an AI agent? What do we mean by this? Well, an agent is someone or something that produces an effect in the world. I like to think of them as software robots that perform autonomous actions while interacting with their environment, which I have drawn as a laptop on purpose, in order to achieve explicit goals, often using multi-step plans. That is an agent, or at least a type of agent. Here is what that would look like if an agent is using your computer. The prompt was, find me where I should go next to the Golden Gate Bridge to watch the sunrise tomorrow morning. And so it finds out where you live, it figures out how to get there, how long it would take, what's the best spot to watch it at, so what time you should leave, and it puts an event in your calendar. That is an agent that uses your computer. And I think we're going to have more and more of these, and our computers are going to become more and more automated in that way. Here's another type of agent that recently has pushed forward math, essentially, like we're inventing new math with AI, and discovering new drugs automatically. This is like in a closed loop, where an AI system uses a robotic lab to find new drugs. And so, according to AI's map of intelligence, we are at level 4 innovators, agents that can help us in invention. Cool. So maybe that means it's the right time to, oopsie, go back, to create the AI company, the company that is manned by AI agents that just interact like normal people would. So maybe you're wondering, okay, if that is true, what should we build? Let's think about it. If Jippy had a sorting hat, wouldn't that be great? And if we could give the Jippy sorting hat thing, the world, the state of it, our strengths and our preferences, wouldn't it be great if you could say, haha, business, and this is the startup that you should be building? Well, I think we can build this together. So the internet is full of data, right? Reddit, Twitter, Google, app stores, everybody's searching for stuff all the time. And these searches, you can actually look at. You can see the trends, you can see the graphs, you can understand what people are looking for, so you can look at exploding topics, yummy search, etc. For example, here's a very simple thing. If you look at Google Trends for landing page AI, this has been trending for 2 years and it still is trending, which tells me that it hasn't been solved, because if it had, you wouldn't be looking for landing page AI. So here's an opportunity for all of us here. Okay, so you have some trends. Based on that, you generate some candidates about things that you might want to build. Based on those, you filter them for founder fit, for your resources, capabilities, and preferences. You then score for DFV and let the model think for a while. What's DFV? Is it desirable? Is it feasible? Is it viable? Do people want it? Can I build it? Can I make money with it? Of course, each of these bubbles is its own like rabbit hole, but high level, you can think of it this way. And this will give you a list of products, services, business models that you should try, right? But how do you know that they're actually valid, they're real? Well, you want to validate them. So you set up a funnel. How do you do that? With ClickFunnels or Unbounce, one of these websites. And then you A/B test and iterate automatically. Imagine an agent doing this for you. You auto-generate some media that I showed you at the beginning is now free and instant and amazing, and you push people into your funnel through socials, right? And then people that come in, people that click, you know what they clicked on. You know what they tried to subscribe to that doesn't actually exist yet. And so that gives you a list of validated ideas which you can then fit into Claude or something to build. I believe that this thing that I showed you is already feasible. You can already build a version of that high-level thing with something like NA10. Highly recommend NA10. It's this insane community of crazy builders. You can get things like automatically get the trending videos of TikTok, run them through Gemini to interpret the video, so explain what's happening in the video, feed that description to VO3, generate a new video, post it to Instagram. This is a thing that you can automatically run, like, you know, as a pipeline. Now, I don't know what the world on universal basic income and full of entrepreneurs will look like. Maybe it's utopia, as imagined by Jippy. Maybe it's the metaverse, as imagined by Mark Zuckerberg. But I think in the meantime, the conversation we should all be having is, whose robot is this anyway? And I'm finishing. And my favorite headline of all times, I always like to end my presentations with, is Just own the damn robots. And even better, ride them. Thank you so much. Slides, socials, by Mindy.